Electrostatics, Coulomb's Law, series on electromagnetic field theory, lecture number 1.10. Coulomb's Law, it is also known as electric force law. It describes the force that exists between two stationary charges. It is considered to be one of the two fundamental laws based on which the entire electrostatics got developed. The other law, basic law of electrostatics, is Gauss law. Now we move further into the session to understand various aspects of Coulomb's law. What is Coulomb's law? Basically, it describes the force that exists between two stationary, means non-moving charges of smaller size. This force is called electrostatic force or simply electric force. So, Coulomb's law is electric force law. It is one of the two basic laws of electrostatics, as I already mentioned, other one being Gauss law. Here we consider a statement of Coulomb's law. According to this law, the force on a stationary, means non-moving point charge, means charge of small size, due to another stationary point charge is directly proportional to product of the point charges, inversely proportional to square of the distance between them. The force is along the line joining the point charges. Another 2 points are there. It is repulsion between like charges and attraction in case of unlike charges. It is inversely proportional to permittivity of the medium. The proportionality constant is 1 by 4 pi in MKS system. Most of the aspects of electric force are known even before Coulomb. His main contribution is in fixing the inverse distance relation for electric force. In moving further, one can notice the fact that this law is very much similar structure-wise. It is very much similar to universal gravitational law of Newton. Mathematically, the force can be described by the relation here, given here. F is force. The statement says its proportionality constant is 1 by 4 pi. Force is inversely proportional to permittivity, proportional to product of the charges, inversely proportional to distance square along the line joining the charges. To understand this particular equation or relation better, we consider this particular diagram or illustration. You see, here is one charge, capital Q. Here is another charge, small q. This expression F gives force on small q due to capital Q. This small q, which experiences force, is called test charge. Capital Q, which exerts force, it is called source charge. The location of source charge, it is designated as source point. The location of test charge is usually called field point or observation point. Now, one can draw a vector joining capital Q to small q. This vector, usually it is designated by capital R. It is a vector with magnitude R, direction is R cap. So, R is actually the distance from capital Q to small q. R cap is unit vector from capital Q, from source point to field point. This expression is not with respect to any particular coordinate system. That's why it is called Coulomb's law in coordinate free form. Regarding the electric force that is provided by Coulomb's law, certain important points are to be noted. It is a force at a distance. It is a force at a distance. The particles do not come into contact with each other while exerting or experiencing the force. The charge Q, it is called source charge. Already explained that its location is source point. The charge small q, as already mentioned, it is test charge. Its location is field or observation point. Both the charges must be point charges. Their relative dimensions, relative, not absolute, relative dimensions or relative sizes must be small. Relative, here relative means the size or dimension must be small compared to the distance between the charges. Another aspect, another constraint here is the test charge. Q is required to be small for the validity of the formula. If Q is large, then what happens is the existing field due to small capital Q, this capital Q, it is associated certain field, surrounding field. If Q is large, then what happens? This field gets disturbed by the field due to Q. So entire thing is no more resembling the field due to capital Q in the absence of small. Therefore, what happens is this small q should be small, preferably it should be 0. Now, Coulomb's law in terms of position vectors. See, sometimes we come across a situation where position vector of capital Q is given, position vector of small q is given. Here capital Q is source point, small q is test point. In such case, how to express the force or how to find out the force. Here it is shown the position vector of source point is r prime. Usually it is the standard practice in electromagnetic field theory. The position vector are the coordinates of source point. They are indicated with prime. If it is position vector is indicated with a prime. If coordinates are indicated with prime, and field point position vector or their coordinates are without prime. Here it is r. Source charges, let us say small capital Q and test charges small q. As already mentioned, it is standard practice to indicate the vector from capital Q to small q or source point to test point by capital R. Now, the force on small q due to capital Q can be expressed in this formula. It is quite simple to understand because the Coulomb's law says proportionality constant is 1 by 4 pi in MKS system. Force is inversely proportional to permittivity, therefore epsilon is placed here. It is product of the charges, okay. Capital Q into small q. In the denominator, I have to place the distance square. Distance square, r square has to be placed. Now, how to find out r square? Position vectors of source point and field point is given. So, r now r can be written as r minus r cap. This is the vector. Now, distance becomes magnitude. Magnitude r minus r prime magnitude. R square has to be placed. Therefore, I have to place r minus r prime magnitude square. But 3 is there here. Cube is there. What is the reason for cube? Here we have to place r cap, unit vector, from capital Q to small q. R cap is, one can easily see it is r minus r prime. This is the vector capital R by its magnitude. Magnitude is, of course, r minus r prime. So already square is there. If we add this thing to it, it becomes cube. So this is Coulomb's vector expressed in position vectors. Sometimes you are given coordinates of source point, coordinates of field point. In such case, how to express the force? Here is given the expression. Of course, 1 by 4 pi epsilon, we don't require any more explanation. Capital Q, small q, this product also, it doesn't require an explanation. Remaining things I will try to explain. In the denominator, one has to keep r square. What is r square in this case? It is x minus x prime whole square, y minus y prime whole square, z minus z prime whole square. That is r square. If you put square root, then it is r. R square means simply x minus x prime whole square, y minus y prime whole square, z minus z prime whole square. Okay. After that, in the numerator, we have to keep r prime. What is r prime? First, you have to write down the expression for vector r. This is vector r divided by its magnitude. Magnitude is, of course, square root of x minus x prime whole square, y minus y prime whole square, z minus z prime whole square. If you put everything here, then this expression we have. Now, electric force, it is found electric force obeying superposition principle. So, see, let us say several charges are there, Q1, Q2, etc., Qn. These are all source charges. Let us say there is another charge here, small q. I am interested in the force on small q due to all these charges, due to Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, Q. Therefore, Q becomes test charge. Q1, as already mentioned, Q1, Q2, these are all source charges. These are all source charges. I am interested in force on small q. Q is test charge. Now, as force obeys superposition principle, I can apply it. F, total force is F1. F1 is force on small q due to Q1. F2 is force on small q due to Q2, etc. Last one is Fn, which is force on small q due to Qn. This is the force on small q due to all these charges. This is, we are using superposition principle, right? F1 is, of course, 1 by 4 pi epsilon common for F1, F2, etc. 1 by 4 pi epsilon is common. That's why I kept it outside. Now, F1 is also Q1 multiplied by Q by R1 square, R1 cap. Similarly, F2, it involves Q2, small q, R2 square, R cap, like that. You add all those things, ultimately you're getting a lengthy expression. This lengthy expression can be put in a compact form using the symbol sigma. In this way you can. Now some more information regarding a parameter exists in Coulomb's law. It is permittivity. Permittivity. In this slide I provide some information regarding epsilon. The parameter epsilon, it is called permittivity. It represents dielectric nature of medium in which charges are located. Dielectric nature. It is product of two factors. One is epsilon naught, another is epsilon r. Epsilon naught is called permittivity of free space. Epsilon r is called the relative permittivity of the medium in which charges are located. Permittivity of free space is a constant. It is equal to 10 power minus 9 by 36 pi, approximately 8.854 into 10 power minus 12 farads per meter. The second parameter, epsilon r, it is a relative permittivity. Another name is also the dielectric constant of the medium, and for free space its value is 1. The ratio 1 by 4 pi epsilon r. You see, it is coming everywhere in Coulomb's law. It is called Coulomb's constant. The product 4 pi epsilon, it is equal to 1.111.11 into 10 power minus 12. It is better to remember, highly handy and helpful in solving the problems using Coulomb's law. Based on dielectric nature, that is based on epsilon, media can be classified. If the medium permittivity epsilon remains the same throughout, then the medium is called homogeneous. Otherwise, no. So if epsilon remains the same, here is some medium. If epsilon here, everywhere it is same, then it is homogeneous. The medium is called isotropic when epsilon is a scalar quantity. If epsilon is 5, 10, 20, 30, epsilon r, I mean, a scalar quantity, then it is isotropic. If it is a vector, then it is anisotropic. Media can also be divided into linear and non-linear based on permittivity. This classification, linear, non-linear, we discuss about it later. The source charge also experiences force. See, till now we are concentrating on the force experienced by test charge small q. What he is telling is capital Q also experiences certain amount of force due to test charge. This charge gives rise to, it exerts certain amount of force on capital Q too. It is, according to Newton's third law, equal in magnitude but opposite in direction to the force due to source charge. See, the force on capital Q is equal to force on small q due to capital Q. Of course, direction is opposite. The point charges need not be in the size of a point. What he is trying to tell is the charges need not be small absolutely for the validity of Coulomb's law. They don't require to have their absolute dimensions small. What is required is relative. In fact, it requires only that charge sizes be negligible when compared to distance between them. It implies that there is no limitation on absolute dimensions of charges as long as their relative sizes are negligibly small. What does it mean? Suppose this point can be understood easily if you consider an example. Let us suppose there is a charge whose size is size of Earth. There is another charge whose size is size of moon. Now, Coulomb's law can be applied to find the force on moon-sized charge due to Earth-sized charge or force on Earth-sized charge due to moon-sized charge. The reason is the distance between them is very large, very large. Or sizes of Earth or moon, they are very small when compared to the distance between them. So Coulomb's law can happily be applied to get excellent results. Another example we consider. See, inside the nucleus of an atom, there exists protons. Here, the protons are almost touching each other side by side. Absolute size of proton is very small, negligibly small, but the distance between them is also negligibly small. So therefore, what happens is the relative size of the proton is very high. Therefore, you cannot use Coulomb's law to find the repulsion force that exists between protons within a nucleus. Coulomb's law describes force on stationary charge. Another law is there to describe electric force on moving charges. That is Lorentz force law. So there are two laws. One is Coulomb's law, another is Lorentz force law. Coulomb's law is force on stationary charge, whereas Lorentz force law is force on moving charge. Coulomb's law as it is for point charges, but with the help of superposition principle. It can be extended to other configurations like line, surface and volume charges also. A limitation of this law is distance between the charges is comparable to the size of the charges. It fails completely. This is what I want to share with you regarding Coulomb's law. For now, enough for today.